you start to look at that person or that client as, this is not a transaction, I'm here to manage your portfolio for life, then it's a different conversation in regards to, it's a great time to buy. Or maybe it's not a great time to buy. Maybe it's, hey, it's a great time to build.
Thank you for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Oli Emerkes, and I want to give a huge shout out to Icon Industries. I love all of you, Shane, Steven, appreciate all that we do. And without further ado, this has been long time in the making. We have Sidney Loiseau.
Man, you hit it on the name. I love it.
South Shore Appraisal. So let me share something with you. This is not about real estate. This is about just an incredible person that's doing great things on educating our community on the power of real estate. And educators in our space, I value because there's so many moving parts. So when you have someone like yourself that's putting the right things out there, giving us, growing our reputation in a good way, I just want to thank you for that.
Man, I appreciate you saying that. It's authentic, right? I feel like people have to know, and when people are empowered, they make the right decisions, right? And so I think so often people, whether it's buying a car or buying a home, they feel like, like that buyer's remorse, like, I wish I wouldn't have done that, right? And so I think we try to lead as a team, as an individual, as myself, is let me give you all of the information. And once you have that information, you will make the right decision for yourself instead of me trying to coerce you or push you in one direction or another. I think that doesn't work, right? So yeah.
I'm 100% on board. I was watching, so I've adopted this philosophy this year from Alex Hermosi, which is I am not here to convince you to make a decision. I'm here to guide you a decision that works well with your goals and what's right for you. I love it.
I like that.
That's hot.
Alex who?
Alex Hermosi.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to lock that in.
Oh, wow. I'm going to get him the book.
You please do.
Alex Hermosi is on our top 3 guests. Like he sits in that chair.
So I drive a lot and I do the audible thing because
you're going to love it.
Okay, cool. Does he narrate it though? Or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, it's legit.
It's really like disappointing when you're like the author and you're like, oh, it's not that voice.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be lazy. You got to read your own book, right?
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay,
cool.
So let's jump into this. But before we talk about like what you do for a living and what your passion is, let's talk about Sidney. Where did your journey begin? How did you end up in San Diego? Like we've known each other for like 4 or 5 years, but we just recently met in person.
We just recently met at the VA rep event.
Yes.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
I first started doing your appraisals in 2019, which I never know these things, right? It's like I have an operations manager, so he kind of does all the work as far as like scheduling, things like that. And I just plug in. I'm a plug and play guy. So my journey started in 2003, end of 2002. Okay. So I wanted to be a firefighter, and during this time, I was like, doing all this testing and stuff like that. My partner now, Mark, his brother was doing loans at the time. And he was like, oh, you guys should be appraisers. And I was like, what's that? So it's almost like the yellow book thing. I hope I'm not aging myself here. But then his uncle, so Mark is Filipino. And just like a lot of people who are from different parts of the world, an uncle could just be a friend, right? Okay. So his uncle, we'll call him uncle, was a church member of his parents, and he owned a real estate company, an appraisal company. And so Mark went to go work for him. And then within like the first week, Mark was like, hey, you got to do what I do. And I was like, okay. So I followed Mark around for a day. Okay. And I was kind of like, this is what you do? And he's like, yeah. So I stopped whatever I was doing, went to school right away. And I was appraising back in Orange County. This is Stanton. So Buena Park, Stanton, Orange County. This is where the company was. So I started my appraisal journey in LA, Orange County. And then in 2005, 3 of us from the office, we started our own company. Yeah, I remember at the time it was called Top Flight Appraisals, right?
Top Flight.
But Top Flight, you said it just like the one on Friday, like the two security guards were Top Flight security. So we were watching Friday one day, we're like, how about Top Flight Appraisals? Like, it was like epic.
We're brilliant.
Yeah, we thought we were brilliant. We're like Top Flight Appraisals. So everything was going great. We had like almost like an appraisal chop shop. We had other appraisers. We bought all the desks, all the computers. Appraisers just came and just went to work, right? And it was just a great, I don't know if people understand, back before the market crash, yourself, a mortgage, a loan originator, if you liked me, you're like, okay, Sidney, you're going to do all my loans and everyone in the office.
Gotcha.
So we were managing maybe like 30 different offices. It was incredible. I mean, money was stupid, right? And I was in my late 20s. I'm like, I never made this kind of money ever. And then
how long were you in the biz at that point?
We started in 03 and this is 05.
Okay.
And so we started our own business. We kind of left the main company.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of 07, the market just pulled from us, right? So when that happened, it was like needles. You can hear a pin drop. I mean, it was not good. So a funny story about that is we were leasing space in Orange County across the street from the block of Orange, right? It's like this little like development.
I know the block of Orange.
Yeah. So right across the street, it looks like almost like an old like condo community, but they changed them into like office spaces. And I remember going to the leasing office. Leasing office was like, we're like, hey, we're out of work. Can you guys help us lease this place? And they were like, no, like you have to do that. So long story short, I can go forever. We ended up leasing it to like a dispensary. Now in 07, I'm like,
back in the day,
exactly.
07,
right?
interesting.
Exactly. I was like, a dispensary, what's that? Like, oh, we sell marijuana. I go, you can do that? And they're like, yeah, it's medical marijuana. It was a whole thing. Anyway.
That's a cool story.
It's a very cool story.
Like that was trendy in 07. I'm like, 07.
They looked at me like, you don't know. I was like, no, either I'm a square or I don't know what's happening around, in the municipalities. But yeah, I was interested in that. And then basically went to, I stopped appraising because I went to work for Chase. That's when Chase, throughout the debacle, acquired WAMU. I was doing multi jobs for Chase. It was like asset manager, getting properties sold, working with realtors and all. It was like a whole hot mess. And then I had like 200 properties in my queue. I had to visit these properties every week, make sure there was no squatters. We were doing cash for keys. It was a whole the whole shebang. That was from like 08 to 2010. And it was somewhat like depressing, because every house you go into was empty, toys left over, people were not having a good time. And I remember trying to get fired from that corporate job, and it's so hard to get fired. And they were like, Sidney, you're doing great. And I was like, I'm trying to get fired so I can get unemployment, So it didn't work.
How's that for candid?
Yeah, I know. It didn't work.
Chase, I don't really love you guys. I really want to leave. Can you fire me, please?
They had me in LA. My market was like Palmdale, Santa Clarita. Like, I was like, and I had a condo in Bankers Hill on 2nd and Upas. I'm like, why do I want to be in Santa Clarita when I could be on 2nd and Upas?
Right.
So I was condensing a 5-day work week into 3 days, because then my girlfriend at the time, wife now, that's what brought me to San Diego. She was graduating from university in 08.
Oh, got you.
And she was like, hey, when I graduate, I'll move back to San Diego. And I was like, well, if I should move my business, like this is the best time to do it.
Yeah.
So and I was living in Belmont Shores, cross street from the beach, living with my brother. Life was great. But I was like, okay, I'll follow you to San Diego. So yeah, we had a place out there, and then I was like, so I try to condense my work week to get back to San Diego. I can be with my girlfriend, what young guys want to do. And, but yeah. And so I started reappraising myself in, about 2011. I went back into appraising like full time.
Did you leave? Have you left since, or it's just been?
No, I've been rocking ever since. Yeah.
So you've seen 12 years of this, almost 13 in San Diego.
Correct. In San Diego, a total of 20 years altogether.
Crazy?
Yeah.
Can you believe? I mean, you seem very young to be in the biz for 20 years.
I started out when I was, 11? No. I started out at, how old was I? 21?
Okay. Did you grow up in California?
No.
Where'd you grow up?
Like early on, like Montreal, New York.
Really?
And then California since I did all like my junior high, high school, all that kind of stuff,
Gotcha. How long were you in Canada?
Just a couple of years.
Did you like it?
Yeah, but you're a kid. You don't know it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
you're
saying.
Just like whatever, you know.
Yeah.
In New York too. When I left New York, I was still young.
Gotcha.
You know, until you go back. You know, I still have family there. You know, my family's like, oh, when are you going to move back to Montreal? I'm like, what? I make adult decisions as adult. It's cold as F out there.
No, thank you.
You know,
like, you do know where I live, right?
I was playing tennis with my buddy the other day in December in shorts. I'm like, at night, I go, no, I think I'm good with California.
Sidney, and then people wonder, like, why are homes so expensive in California? Exactly what you just said. I'm wearing shorts in December.
Exactly. You know, so.
What is San Diego or Orange County? What do you prefer?
San Diego as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, if you say Orange County, you'd have to define Orange County.
Okay.
Like my dad lives in Laguna. I absolutely love Laguna.
Laguna's hot.
It's just, it reminds me of like Laguna Dana Point is kind of like a Encinitas-ish, Cardiff-ish,
True.
you know?
Yeah.
People are chill, you know? People have money, but they're not like over the top, like asses, you know?
Amazing.
So I think, you know, those places are nice. I mean, even in LA, if you lived in like Manhattan Beach, Hermosa, awesome.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, Belmont Shores was great too. So.
I guess I just wanted you to say San Diego. Like,
San Diego is the best.
It is
Look,
the best.
I have a brother in LA and he goes, when he comes to San Diego, he goes, I feel like I'm on vacation. I go, exactly.
I know.
So if you can have a great work ethic in a place like San Diego, you have it all because you have a very relaxing atmosphere. Beaches are great. People are awesome. You know, it's very diverse and, you know, you can make a good living.
Yeah.
You know, even though we're the most expensive city in all the nation.
It's great. It's awesome.
I haven't felt it. Have
Love
you felt
it. Oh, yeah. A little bit. I'm still feeling it right now as I'm sitting down.
You
It's
know
been
what?
felt.
I feel it more in the grocery store and gas than anything else. Yeah. You know, I own my property. You know, I invest here and there, but it's like you feel it on like, oh, shoot, groceries are like double. I'm like, I have this small bag. It's $120, really?
And you bring up something which is affordability. And here's some of the things that, you know, it's very hard to make a decision to buy real estate in California because of affordability issues. So I think that one of the things that I'm a huge advocate for now is we got to stop throwing as our industry, we got to stop throwing out blanket statements like it's always a great time to buy, because I will share with you, I have families. It is definitely not a great time for them to buy. They have work that they need to get done. Yeah. And I love them to death. I don't want any of these families to lose their home, you know? Like, could you understand how devastating that would be?
Yeah.
Like you get sold to buy a house and you don't know what it's like to have a house, the water, the trash, everything adds up.
The maintenance.
So the maintenance. Thank you. So what are your thoughts about our industry and us throwing out these blanket statements? How do you think how do you think we should be responsible with the content that we put out?
I think you have to look at who is putting out those statements, right? And you have to see, is that person putting out that statement to fill their own pocket? Look, the market has dried up a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a lot of realtors out there. We have a lot of loan originators out there. We have quite a few appraisers out there. So, you know, yes, if I'm like, I need to eat, then you're just like, yeah, it's a great time to buy. Well, maybe a $10,000 a month payment is not good for everyone. Right? Maybe they would rather have a $6,500 payment. Now, there's calculations you can do and goes, okay, well, you know, like investing, right? Okay, the trend is over time, you know, we're always going to make 8 to 10%.
Yes.
Great. But if the market is shit, you're like, I'm not trying to throw money in it right now because it's crap. I would rather let it stabilize and then I'll, you know, think about it. It's tough, right? I don't originate loans. I don't know all the history behind someone's, you know, financial profile to say, yes, do it because, you know, the market seems to grow at a certain percentage year by year. So even if you're paying X amount over on an interest rate by next year and you're buying at, you know, a 1% lower, you're still paying the same amount. Yeah. You have to, if you can afford your payment, buy.
There you go.
If you cannot, do not, right?
Bingo.
But I also feel like that. And I speak to a lot of realtors, you know, because look, when life happens, they go to the realtor first, right? And you might hear me say that quite a bit throughout this conversation. And what I mean by that is educating your clients, right? So yes, let's say you sell someone a house or someone buys a house with your help. If you start to look at that person or that client as this is not a transaction, right? I'm here to manage your portfolio for life. Then it's a different conversation in regards to it's a great time to buy. Or maybe it's not a great time to buy. Maybe it's, hey, it's a great time to build. Right? Because yes, by building, you're not going to get your 2.5%, 3% on that transaction, but their client will improve their profile. And maybe once they finish building in a year, within 2 years' time, they go, you know what? We can rent both of them and now go get something even bigger that we would have purchased the first time around. That's managing their profile, right? And I'll step in even one further than that. Like, I feel that, well, here's a stat that I saw. I think it was something around 88% of people do not reuse a realtor.
True.
88% of people do not reuse a realtor. That means only 12% are. Why? Yeah. Now, I think it's great when it's October. You're like, oh, I'm going to put a pumpkin on everyone's doorstep. Awesome. But if they're not reusing you, that means they don't see value in that pumpkin being on their doorstep. Now, if you're managing portfolio and going, hey, Miss Smith, I sold you a property 3 years ago. Here's what's happening in the market. There's a new product called ADU. Have you heard about it? You haven't. You can build one for $250,000. You can't buy a house for one, but here's the income that it'll generate. Now, what's your purpose? Family, income? Are you by a college area? Let's increase your profile as far as income goes, so that maybe you're like, you know what, now that I'm receiving, 7, 8, 10 grand a month from these properties, I can go over here and move to a bigger house where now you're going to go, hey, Rebecca, thanks for helping us with that ADU. You know what? I think we want to make a bigger move. Where the loan originator is like, yeah, we'll use 75% of that income to help you qualify. Someone else is paying for that asset and you're living where you really want to live. Now, that's a different move than telling someone, hey, it's a great time to buy. Like, really educate them. We come back to education, right? Educate them. Here is what's happening in the market. Here's where we project. And here's where I feel that you'd be in best position to make real moves in 3 years from now or in 2 years or whatever it is. So,
do you know what I'm impressed with? No. You're an appraiser. You own an appraisal company, and you're actually talking about real estate education and how you should approach this and creating money and wealth for families that we're obligated to serve, because we have a lot of power in our industry. And you said loan originator. Now, I correct everyone on this, and here's the difference. I don't do loans for a living. I do plans and strategies for your real estate portfolio long term. Okay. Because once I understand your portfolio, I'm a mortgage advisor. Once I understand your portfolio, I navigate you because I'm your money guy. Yeah. So when I work open houses and people say, hey, nice to meet you, I'm like, I sell money for a living. But really what I do is I help people solve problems that are important to them. Yeah. You and I do the same thing. So to hear you say that, and you're not a real estate agent, you're not a mortgage advisor, that's how come I'm a huge advocate of yours, because we're in a very complicated market in California, and no one across the country can tell us California is anywhere near what their market is. It's completely different. So affordability, I make it a priority because every family brings it up. Why wouldn't I listen to that? Yeah, absolutely. So since you've been in the industry for 20 years, here's my question for you. What changes do we need to make in our industry, in our communities, so that way we can improve our reputation and we could start really serving our communities to the full capacity of what we're capable of? Oh, that's a good one. I think as a whole, right? I mean, you have to look at things everyone's scenario is different. Like, I can't tell you don't put food on your family's table, right? That's a hard pill to swallow or to tell anyone. So I never tell anyone what to do. First off, outside of anything. Now, if you ask for my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. And I want your opinion. And you're giving my opinion. Yeah. I think if everyone sets it up if they set up their professions, their life for longevity, then they take the long approach, right? The longer approach is,
let me just plant seeds and not just go get the full grown tree, and plant that in the house and go, oh, look at my awesome tree. Everyone's like, whoa, that thing's huge. How long has it been here? Oh, I just got it. It's been at the nursery for 20 years, but I just got it. They're not going to appreciate then like you go into someone's garden going, your garden's amazing. Yeah, I planted seeds last season and So, and also before I completely answer the question, I like to just kind of go around before I get to it. Haven't you noticed that when someone plants seed, and they don't really do this anymore on grass, the grass actually takes better, it's stronger, it lasts longer, stays greener, it requires less water, all those things if someone just puts down sod. The sod is the quick fix. Look, it looks green. Oh, let's throw all this mulch on the property. Oh, it looks great in an open house. And then a month later, after it rains and then all these weeds, and the person's like, I just bought this house. This mulch is worth nothing. I got to pull it out. Now they have a headache, right? So when it comes to real estate, I see it the same way. You have to be methodical. You have to first think about, why am I getting into real estate? What is my purpose? Was it the Instagram, post that I saw that makes it look sexy? Because real estate is hard as fuck. And I want people to understand this. Like, it's not easy.
It is brutal. It is brutal. I feel sorry for people. It's such a hard market to buy in. It's insane.
You know what? Get away from buying and selling.
Yeah.
Or someone purchasing and someone selling. Just the people within the industry. Like real estate is not easy.
It's not.
Someone must have sold you something like, oh yeah, it's a great industry, but oh my God, it's going to go like this. These ebbs and flows. The tide goes in, the tide goes out. It's what you do and what you're focused on. I just had a lunch with Mark Palapil. He's my ops manager. And we were speaking about, he goes, man, like, we're just so blessed with doing it this long. He goes, anyone in we call it our graduating class, they're not doing it anymore, whether they're loan originators or advisors, whether they're real estate agents, real estate advisors, whether they're appraisal or appraisal advisors. I'm going to use advisors because some people advise, some people just do, right? Because it's like, I go, yeah, we our work ethic is there. You know what I mean? Our morality is there. We don't push these crazy values. We don't do that stuff. Incredible. So we're still in it, right? But it's like we've, like Top Ramen has been there at some point, and so you just have to understand these things. So what I would advise for people in real estate is just like, well, why are you getting into? Are you getting in really to go, look, I want to increase housing. I want to get people in homes, but I also want to make a dope living. I want to have nice stuff. Great. You can do both. But if you're first leading with, hey, I'm going to set my seeds and go, hey, I don't think you're ready right now. Here's why, but let's get you ready. Then someone's going to respect that more than going, yeah, let's get you in this payment where you're house poor. You can't go nowhere. Yeah, you own this house that you really can't afford. You're making payments, but you're like, if one of the spouses, let's say, for any reason gets let go, are you going to have to let this property go? You got to look at all these different avenues, almost like a financial advisor would do. Let's look at the big picture. And then, so if you're looking at a big picture and you're moving how you're moving, I think it's great. If you're looking at it short term, when the rates go up, you go back to doing whatever you're doing before.
Oh my
Always. Goodness. The industry thins out and then it's back to normal.
Okay, man, you just, I'm going to laugh so hard. And everything that you said is spot on. And I think everyone's got to do what they got to do. Absolutely. It's in their best interest. I just look at, when I got into this business in 2019, I just looked at it, I still look at it as a privilege that I get to make a difference in people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I hold on to that. And I was told like, it's a numbers game. No, it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not a numbers game, dude. It's you guys are the one that are saying it's a numbers game. This is a people game. Yeah. Like I'm playing the people game. I'm not playing the numbers game. These are people. Yeah. And what I don't ever want to have happen is some family call me and be like, hey, just by the way, like, what in the world were you advising us? This shit's getting stressful. So I always like to go, I truly believe in honesty and trust, and that trust is earned every single day. Yeah. every day. Not just because I did right by you 2 years ago. No, I do right by you every day.
Yeah.
And I know all my families. I know all my people because like that's the power we have in real estate. And I look at it as a huge privilege.
Yeah. You don't walk in a room and go, oh shit, I shouldn't have given them that loan and now they're here. I don't have that uncomfortable feeling.
Never.
And look, I work with, I might do some name drops, not because I'm trying to promote anyone. It's It's just what it is. It's how I speak.
We have to advocate for the great people that are doing great things. Sidney, do you know how many mortgage advisors I've had that work at different companies on the podcast? I advocate for the people in our business, whatever their role is, that are doing right by people.
Cool.
That's the message we put more out there, bringing people like yourself that are educating, that are sharing that knowledge. And I'm sorry to break it to you, that comes at a cost.
Yeah.
You don't want the brain surgeon that's the cheapest doing your brain surgery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying what we do is brain surgery, but real estate is very complicated. Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts and you don't know how much shit goes wrong that you're not exposed to because the right team takes care of it.
Exactly. You may need brain surgery if you do.
Boom!
It brings me to a different point. I think earlier we were talking about like fees and things like that, costs. And but it's interesting. I think you're bringing up, maybe $100 difference, or maybe let's say it's a half a point in originating a loan.
Right. Maybe it's $1,000.
Maybe it's $1,000, right? But it's I remember doing one. It was a mixed use commercial project, right? In development, and I think the lady was asking like, oh yeah, okay, like how much is it? And I said it was $2,500. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, do you think you can, can you do it for 23? And I go, you're like not going to not do it for $200, right? Like, just think about that.
On a mixed use property?
I was like, you're, and she's like, you know what? You're right. It just sounds silly,
right?
But it's just sometimes you just have to hear. So like, you're like, for $200, you can be like, oh no, let me go waste more time to try to find someone who, it's all relative, it's subjective on what you think is the value for your value and what you're actually giving a client. Right. I think doing it this long, I'm unafraid no, these are my fees. This is my value. Yeah. And there's like, not to say that I won't go, okay, I'll help you out. Like, no worries. If someone's like, look, I'm so strapped. Like no problem. Let's do it. Because I also don't want that to happen because you just don't have it. I'm going, no, it's more important. Let's just keep it going.
There's a difference that you're talking about. And I love that you're approaching your business with heart.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got to have heart every day. Like we want heart in return. We got to give heart.
Yeah. 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 So there is a difference, right? So when someone calls me, it's so interesting. The first thing they do is, oh, how much is an appraisal? I just go, exactly.
What are your interest rates?
Sometimes I laugh. Yeah.
But bro, what are your interest rates? I don't know anything about you. Why would I quote? Wouldn't that be irresponsible?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I go, I don't give quotes like that. I go, because I know nothing about the property, the purpose or anything. And then what happens is I give you a price. And then you're like, well, you said, or even a value. Like as appraisers, we're not supposed to give any value. But even if I give a homeowner, oh yeah, it's between 670 and 730, then all they hear is 730. Of course they do. The appraiser told me 730. I'm like, no, I said 670, 730. So now I just go, you know what? Like, I can't give you any sort of value. There's a range. You could be on this side. Just wait. Once you wait 3-4 days, I'll have it for you. Okay, no worries. Is there anything you can tell me? Yes, your house is wonderful. And I just move on. But
thank you for being comfortable in not telling people what they want to hear. Like I think that's what leads to a lot of disappointment in our industry.
Okay, so I have a friend of mine, Layla. She's an awesome agent. She's getting started, but she's going to be awesome. And so she calls me. She had a property in Claremont. Okay. The property was 2180 square feet, the way it was advertised on MLS. It was, in actuality, I think it was like 1965. Okay. So the difference of 215 square feet.
Which is, in California, that's a good size difference.
Especially in a townhome, row home
townhouse.
Setting, right?
Okay.
So it's that kind of a setting. So I go, okay. So she calls me. She's like, hey, like, I'm not sure how to kind of do this because essentially what happened was she was obviously representing as her listing, but then the buyers were like, well, can you represent us? So, in MLS, there's like the agent preferred like view, and then there's a client preferred view.
Yeah.
So of course, on the agent preferred view, it shows like, hey, there's a potential non-permitted 200 something square feet. But as the client preferred that she's receiving as a client, they don't see that. So she got to the point where the client was like, okay, we'll pay for this amount, but you have it advertised as this, and now I'm seeing it as this. Like what's and so she calls me like, hey, can you help me out with that? I'm like, yeah, no worries, I can help you. And what I explained to her is like, there's two things we need to figure, or there's three things we need to figure out. One is, what is the value of this home at 1965 square feet? That's one.
Right.
What is the home at 2180 square feet? That's two. And then what is the contributory value of the non-permitted space? There's some sort of it contributes to something. Could be $5,000, could be $30,000.
Because it's something.
Could be $100,000.
Yeah.
But that's what we need to figure out. And I go, Layla, in this scenario, this is perfect about setting expectation. You have to set expectation for your buyers. You have to set the expectation for the seller. Now, this is better to do for the seller early on in the listing appointment. Hey, I know that it's advertised on MLS as this. I have a tax record that's showing that. Can you show me the space that might be in question? And then set their expectations saying, okay, I know we want this, but because of this contributory value, we don't know how an appraiser will put that in value and how a buyer will receive that in value. Let's maybe price it here or get an appraiser out there to do the valuation to go, here's our number. Now, when the buyer comes around, hey guys, looks beautiful. These two areas in the home, setting expectation, are non-permitted. They've been done by a contract, but they're just not permitted. We understand we put our listing based on 1965, but the additional value per appraisal report gives you this. So now the buyer goes, cool.
Bam.
Right? Because now both sides are not feeling cheated, and
and what an incredible partner you are, that you're walking a person that, and we're all new at one point. We're all new, and we need people that are advising us and mentoring us. So I went to an event last week, and I love going to trainings. I was probably one of the only mortgage advisors there.
Okay, I love it.
It was all agents. It was all agents. It was at Mark Pattison's.
Okay, cool.
So at Porch Light, and he was saying, "Hey guys, you got to be professionals. You are to be professionals. Go to your open house an hour before. Go look at everything. Be professionals. We make obscene money. We have to be professionals." So the way I do research, do you know how much research I did on you before you came? You have to value people at every step of the juncture, because the way I look at it is this: I work for you. And I owe it to you for you to have a 5-star experience, whatever that means. Yeah. And that's what we're going to deliver on.
It's really cool. I've done quite a few podcasts. You're the first one that when I got the call saying, hey, here's what we have. Can we get you anything else? Is there anything special you'd like? Whether it's like dark chocolate almonds, whatever. I was like, geez, you guys are, thank you. I was almost like, no, caught me off guard. I go, no, I think I'm just good with sparkling water and maybe some coffee. But I thought that was really awesome. It's a good touch.
We genuinely appreciate, Sidney. I am beyond grateful for the people here. Like I couldn't have fathomed in July that we would be hitting almost 50 episodes before the end of the year. Like, I'm so privileged.
But that wasn't your focus, right?
Not at all. Exactly. It was about telling people stories.
Exactly.
I love stories, man. Like, how could you not? Like, if someone watches this and says, man, look at that guy. Yeah. Like, how could they not like you? Because, and here's the thing, we vet everyone. Yeah. This isn't for everyone. Yeah. We don't want to advocate for everyone because some of us aren't worth advocating for.
Yeah, I believe you. I'm with you on that. I feel, it's not everyone's for you.
Absolutely not. And it's okay.
And not every client, you don't want to work with everyone either, right? And I think that's the benefit of what we do in our industry is I can go, I don't need to work with you. I don't want to work with you, right? But we somehow align ourselves in similar circles to saying, oh yeah, these are good people. And then and then it happens. It gets naturally easy. So Bree, she's an agent with Compass. I met Bree October of 2022, right? And this just goes back to it's never like transactional, it's just you meet someone cool. she just referred me to one of her trust attorneys yesterday. So thanks, Bree. But I just thought that was so cool, and because I was having lunch with Mark, and we were talking about how blessed we are, like I always take my team out, my entire team once a year, we do an annual dinner. This was for Mark and I to plan 2024.
Kudos.
Like, it's like, and a lot of things, many of the things that we said for 2023, we hit. And we're like, I go, okay, so let's plan.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm like, let's plan 2024 right now. And so, of course we're going through our blessing and we're so happy. We're still, this, and I think it was great. And I go, Mark, it's never like things never really happen the next day. And I told him about Bree. I go, Bree hit, I met her 14 months ago. And yesterday, she sends me a trust attorney who I work with a lot. Boom. I go, so it's just one of those things when you come back to real estate, how would you advise people? It's like, well, what's your long play? When I first started, it was like just transactions. Just how many deals can you do a day? Our thing was like, we want to make $1,000 a day, and we're hitting those markers. I was in my 20s, no family. Like, I don't care. I stay up all night typing reports. And then when the market crashed, I go, oh no, I have to do it different. I have to think different. Ooh. My whole profile has to change. And from that moment on, I feel like that's what I started doing my business differently from other appraisers and learning from other appraisers. Like a good buddy of mine, Dave Morris, he's an appraiser. One day we met at a property. I don't know where it was. Let's say National City. And I'm standing across the street from the property and getting ready to go. And I see this guy next to me. I go, oh, what's up, man? Cool. I'm like, oh, appraiser? Because he just had the look. He goes, yeah, appraiser. I go,
the appraisers have a look between you guys? I love it.
Yeah, they do.
Insider secrets.
You get to a good spot an appraiser quick. A lot of people come to me like, oh, I'm so shocked you're an appraiser. And I'm like, yeah, because I just got style,
You do have style, man.
Sorry, guys. I just have style. I think I get it from my mom, though. But yeah, so you're very cool. I go, oh, this house. He goes, no, that one right there. And I go, oh, cool. I never met an appraiser where we're doing the neighboring homes. Yeah.
I love it.
And so we start chatting it up because we were there early and he was telling me about how he did his business. And I go, oh shit. I go, man, that sounds great. As soon as I left that property, I got on the phone with Mark. I go, tomorrow we're doing everything different. I learned from him. He basically ran his business like an assembly line.
Yeah.
Like, think about Ford, before Henry Ford got into business, car makers, they couldn't do a car quickly because one person was working on the entire car. And then Henry Ford came up with the assembly line, your doors, your tires, your engine, your windows, Oh, efficiency.
That's amazing.
And that's how I run my appraisal business, just like that. So anyone who I hire, I can plug in. Anyone who leaves, I go, cool. Not one person is in charge of 100% of that report or the business, right? So it's very interchangeable and production is high. Quality is high because you're not spending 8 hours on one thing. You're just seeing the same thing, the same thing, the same thing.
What are your quality standards, you and Mark's?
Quality standards. First is integrity. It starts with the client relation, right? Before we even get into appraisal reports. So many of the times, when it comes to appraisers, the number one thing is what we call is identifying the problem. Okay. Once you identify the problem, then you can find your scope of work, and then you go out and do the inspection, your reporting and all those kind of things, right? So identifying the problem is on the phone, being able to get all the information we need from that client. Hi, can you tell us a little bit about your property? Have you done any remodeling? Is there any potential non-permitted spaces? Blah, 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 blah. Once we have that, we have a picture. Now our scope of work is, here are the comps. Here's how we're going to go about completing this assignment, right? Now, if I get to a property, I'm like, yeah, they said no, non-permitted. Tax record says 1,000 square feet. I'm looking at a 2,100 square foot home. There's a problem, right? Fine. But our scope of work changes so that we can go ahead and complete the assignment, right? But integrity meaning, anytime I train an appraiser, I go, if you are in financial trouble, let me know. But if you go to a property, you see a nice watch, you see cash, you see whatever. Integrity is you're not just representing yourself, you're more representing me, you're representing the brand, you're representing the industry. So integrity meaning no stealing, no this, no that, no, like just
Common sense.
You would think it's common, but I have to say it and I have to stay,
Always.
And so that's the number one thing for us is integrity. Integrity will flow into how we produce a report. Do we have a moral compass? Are we is an agent going, hey, I'll give you another $500 if I can get that, or a lender is going, hey, I really need that. I swear I'll send you another 20 deals if you get this one through. Like you have to have integrity and all that, right? So it extends throughout the entire process. And look, 20 years in, going on 21 in 6 months, it's like we don't get that far from burning bridges, from being wishy-washy, from not having integrity and a moral compass saying no.
Yeah.
Market value is market value. Like, why don't you just do a loan and do something on your end and I'll just keep my appraisal the way it is.
Yeah.
Like everyone always wants to put it on the appraiser. Hey, can you do this? No, how about you just give that client your 3% commission and make the deal happen. But I'm not going to adjust my value so that you can still eat and this person can still eat. But now I'm sweating for the next 5 years. So we hold a report for 5 years, that, I wonder if I'm going to get in trouble for that. No, I don't have time for that.
It's interesting how, sometimes we put the wrong pressure on someone else because we want to avoid having a difficult conversation.
Yes. Damn it. Say that again. Because it's true. Whether you have some listing agents, some, not all, that are like yes men and yes women, they just want to get the listing so bad that they just go, that property is worth $1 million. It's at best 915, but you want it. So you go, yeah, okay. And you test the market. Then you have to do things what we call enhance the price. That's not enhance. Enhance is supposed to be better. You're lowering that price because you did not educate and you were in fear of not getting that listing.
And I think that's where I've realized with the mistakes I've made, I never let early on in my career, because I was coached to look at everything transactionally, I made mistakes because we're also in an industry where mentorship isn't very common.
You and I both. Appraisers are the same way. They'll go, okay, I'll push value so I can get that 20. The 20 never come.
Yeah.
Right. But now they see you as like, because the thing is, if you mess up, they can just go find someone else, And so I learned in a deal one time, it was out in Riverside, man. It was like maybe in 2007. This realtor convinced me like, oh yeah. And I go, okay, I got emotionally involved. Like, I don't get emotionally involved anymore. No, like I am.
You can't. In your role, you really can't.
I have empathy for your scenario, but I can't finagle numbers. I'm like, what?
Well, it causes more damage because what we're doing is we're overvaluing properties.
Markets.
That's so when I go into having real conversations all the time with my families and the people I'm there to serve, I'm always like, hey, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm giving you the reality of real estate. I didn't make the house. That's not the house I chose. I'm here to educate you. I'm your advisor. I'm going to advise you on solutions that are going to make this work. And if it doesn't make sense for you, don't do it.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. But here's where education comes in. So, Andrew Greer, he's awesome.
He's a beast.
Yeah, I just started working with him.
Really?
On a couple of his deals. One was in Mission Hills, and the truth about this transaction was that I was hired by it's a new development, so the homeowner is buying this property, right?
Okay.
And I forget what the listing price was. Let's just call it. Let's just say it was 2.65. I don't know. I can't remember. And so I came in at, I believe, let's just say 2.6. So I'm like 500 under. And the homeowner calls me. I send him the report. He calls me. He's like, hey, this, such and such. He's like, can you walk me through this?
Perfect.
I go, yeah, that's what I'm here for. That's part
great.
Of the fee. I want you, you don't have to agree, but I want you to understand my methodology, my adjustments, why I use that and that. And I explained everything to him. And he was like, okay. He's like, Sidney, thank you so much for that. And he's like, let me ask you this. I'm just asking your opinion. He's like, do you think this would be like a solid purchase? I go, look around Mission Hills. I go, do you see new construction that's like this in this location? So I'm putting it back on him, the onus back on him. And he's like, nah. I go, do you love the location? I go, the value eventually will be there. It's not like it's far off.
Yeah. It was off by 50, right?
But I go, yeah, but my job's not to make you feel good.
Yeah.
I go, my job.
I love it. It's not. That's not.
And I tell this to my investors all the time. One of my biggest, like Rancho Ted, work with him all the time. He is.
Wait a minute. Did you say Rancho Ted?
Yeah, I did.
Guess who was before you?
Was he here?
Oh yeah.
Ted. Ted is awesome. But the relationship that we have outside of like, just like, hey man, how are you? Like genuinely is he'll call us and go, what do you think? He needs to leverage this property.
Totally.
And so it's like, I always tell my investors, I'm not here to agree with you. I'm here to show you data and to show you exactly what it is based on data. Now, if you don't agree with me, great. But could you imagine that I just start telling all the investors, oh yeah, it's worth it. And then they go to sell it or they put even more money into it because they know they're thinking they're getting X out and they don't. They're going to look at me like, you don't know shit. What do you do? Like, right? Never use me again. So even with this guy, I go, yeah. And he goes, guess what? He still bought it. But he goes like, I appreciate you giving me the value you did, your opinion of value, and explaining it to me and not just giving me what the purchase was on the contract. He goes, I can respect that. And thank you so much. I go, best compliment I had all month.
Do you know what I do? I literally take the appraisals, I do a video explanation and send it to my families. So that way they can read the report. No, I walk them through the comps and I show them and do a via video, then do a follow-up. To me, experience is everything. Like what you did, like fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because like that guy, he doesn't know. Yeah. He's not an appraiser.
Yeah.
That's why he paid you.
Exactly.
Like what am I, am I getting a good deal? Who the fuck knows? Yeah. Because what's a good deal to you? Mm-hmm. And I love that, and I think sometimes that's the hardest thing to do because we don't want to disappoint people, but telling people what they want to hear is setting some really, really dangerous expectations.
Yeah. I tell you what you need to know.
Yeah.
And that's okay. If you don't like that, that's okay.
That's okay too.
Like that's a real emotion. Like I don't agree with you. Perfect. Based on what?
Right.
Just
your years of experience on appraising properties.
Man, let me tell you this story. There's this realtor, man. I forgot his name. I don't even mention his name because I don't remember it anyway. That's how much I just stopped dealing with him. But he's a realtor. He had a property in Tirisana.
Okay.
And he wanted to sell this property for $1 million.
Right.
Okay. So he brings me into his house. Oh, Sidney, my house is great. Awesome. Comps will tell you. The market will dictate how awesome your property is.
Yeah.
This is what people need to understand.
Always.
Whether you're in movies, if it doesn't sell, that means it was a shit movie. No one's going to the theater, right? If it's a product, this is the best product ever and no one's buying it. Guess what? It's not the best fucking product, right? Let's just call it a spade a spade. So this guy brings me in and I didn't know why he was bringing me in other than whatever, but I realized what it was. So he wanted to put this property on the market for $1 million. My value came in at, I think it was like 930.
Okay.
Like, dude, your house is worth 930. I remember I was with Yelp and he gave me a Yelp review, like a 1, like with the mad face, right?
Okay.
And I was like, who is this? I started reading it. It's this realtor. And he was like, oh, this appraiser. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Even my neighbor said the home was worth $1 million. I like, how does your neighbor qualify that one? Who's your neighbor?
Was his neighbor an appraiser?
No, hell no. Just his neighbor.
That was a joke.
Who's just gassing him up. Oh yeah, this is because
definitely.
You know what? Think about it. If his house is $1 million, the neighbor goes, oh, I can get $1 million for my house. So, which is even funny. I didn't think about that until just now. So I professionally just totally shit on him, but in a professional way. So it's just super awesome.
Yeah.
Like anytime I reply professionally, like Mark, my ops guy, dude, he just goes, you're so good with words. So I just basically in short form just said like, basically you know what you're talking about, right? You don't need me for that. But I also said, if you sell your home for $1 million, I'll give you back the appraisal, the fee that you paid me for the appraisal.
I love that. That's great.
Do you ever think, you think that money ever left my pocket?
No. You know what's interesting is, so I see, And this is where we have to be professionals consistently. So when you see home prices reduce, price reductions, price adjustment, whatever they want to call them, and then we report that stuff out to, in the media, we're setting really bad expectations with people because they think that home prices are dropping when in actuality, if the agent didn't do the right comps, they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and they didn't stand up to their seller to say, hey, if you overprice the house, it actually does more damage to what your end game is.
Sell it really lower than what you would originally done.
Do you see what I mean? Absolutely. Like that to me, and I haven't been in this space as long as I don't have 20 years.
Yeah.
This is just I'm like, this is what I'm a part of. Like, we got to do better. Yeah. So instead of complaining, this is what the adjustments I learned. I'm not complaining any longer. I'm advocating for what we need to improve in our industry for our reputation to improve. Branding is reputation, and my reputation matters. Who I promote, who I refer matters. So I'm going to refer an educator. It's not the price that you want to pay, but I want you to work with knowledgeable people. Now, if you go work with a person that's less expensive and you don't get education, you don't get value, and then you call me up and be like, I work with an appraiser that really didn't give me any information. I'm sorry, I gave you a referral. You decided to go another route.
You're going to pay again, and now you pay more.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
knowledge isn't free.
Knowledge isn't free, yes. But also, like, I don't know, I think I lost my train of thought in regards to that.
We were talking about just the commoditization of everything, lowest interest rates, lowest appraisal.
So everything. I think even the common buyer, if they're listening to the news, home prices are dropping. So now they're like, I'm going to wait, or I'm going to offer ridiculously low because it's like, well, it's not that it's true. It's just, but then again, their agent needs to educate them and going, hey, look, it's not that, but look at the list price to sell price ratio in this market. It's at 0% or like 1%, meaning they're very close related as far as list price to sell. Like, these are all things that I educate people on because it's honestly maybe selfishly just make my job easier. Just simple things like filling out the MLS in full detail. Like, that'd be nice for me. Like separating things. We know things are non-permitted. Just put it. I mean, it's easier because we're going to find out. Right?
And we all work together to improve the experience. This is actually a funny story. I just worked on a transaction, and I got to be very candid. This listing agent will never get a great review from me because what they did was, because they didn't want to stand up to their seller, they made life a living nightmare for my buyers and the buyer's agent, which I felt like the buyer's agent extremely professional. But when you give a notice to perform, and we're dealing with the California Fair Plan on insurance, and they dictate the timeline, and you're giving a notice to perform when we're communicating, now you're not working in good faith. You don't want my buyers to win. And now I'm going to take a different approach because I have to protect my buyer. I want everyone to win, but my fiduciary responsibility is to my buyer's agent and my buyer, my family. Not, hey, we just want to get shit done as quickly as possible. I'm sorry, life doesn't work that way. It's real estate.
I was just talking to my sister. I was at Target earlier, and I was speaking with my sister about that. I go. She was telling me something. She got like a car for her son for Christmas or something, and I was like, it's so interesting that before it used to be loan contingencies when purchasing a property. Now it's insurance. Oh, this is why she said her neighbor's tree hit her like pool house. So she's like, are they going to pay for that? She's like, oh no, my insurance will take care of that. I go, oh man, in California, the premiums, they can't raise the premiums enough. So all these insurance companies are leaving. And instead of being contingent on the loan, now it's contingent on insurance. Like, you first need to secure insurance before you even securing a loan.
I didn't release the loan contingency because they were not working in good faith. And that's the exposure, when I walked
How did you catch that then?
What do you mean?
Not releasing loan contingency because they weren't acting in good faith about the insurance policy.
Oh, because I kept them in the loop. Like, hey, here's our timeline. I called their insurance agent. To me, you go the extra mile because what I got to do is this. This is the biggest lesson I've learned as a mortgage advisor. I am here to create time for my buyers. These buyers are busy. They own a business. They do $4 million in business. They don't have time to deal with bullshit of real estate.
That's what they hire you for.
You got it. And that's why when you shop interest rates, when you shop on price, when these things, then what you're saying is, hey, I know I want to work with professionals. I'm just not willing to pay for professionals. Then what you should expect is that you're not going to have a great experience in real estate. Don't shortchange that, because we're talking about obscene amounts of money.
Yeah.
Obscene.
Yeah, of course. Look, it's relative, right? Because
it's all relative.
For everyone someone's buying a 500,000 home, that's obscene money to them.
That's obscene money.
Someone buying 15 million, that's obscene money to them. And maybe it's not, but it's obscene money regardless. Money is money, and you have to respect it. One of my mentors when I first got in, Rod Heffington, still talk to the guy. He's awesome. He was like, this piece of paper, because it was paper back then. He's like, this piece of paper is worth hundreds and millions of dollars.
Oh my
Respect
goodness.
it. So when you do your appraisal report, have that level of respect that if someone gave you a briefcase full of $1 million, what are you going to do with that thing? You're not just going to throw it around and kind of just treat it like shit, right? I go, from that moment, I go, oh, I got you. That's
Sidney,
how I see
that was fire advice right there. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's true. And I think that's how come I love what we do.
Yeah.
And people that do it incredible, I'm in awe and I love them and I advocate for them because I'm like, dude, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
You've lasted 20 years with your strategy in this business. Yeah. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, I think my foundation has always been the same. Strategies change a little bit, obviously, right? but it's kudos to me. It's kudos to my team, the ones who's still with me, because a lot of people have not been in it that long, 5 years. It's almost like I was listening to YouTube earlier and they're talking about LeBron James being in his 21st year. He's going to be 39 years old in 40 days. Yeah. And they were just saying Kobe, his last playoff game was at 33 years old. 33. They were like, Michael Jordan never played past 34 or 35. And like Steph Curry and all these other people are amazing, but look, they can't even get their accolades because LeBron is basically 39 years old. Actual years, like really years, he's probably like 48, the way he beats up his body. But it's like he's still doing it at such a high level. 21 years, came in from high school. It's like, oh, that's incredible. So like, when someone could do something for 2 decades, anyone in anything they're doing, I think it's awesome. You know? 5 years, 10, doesn't matter. As long as you know and you're going long play. Because in this industry and mostly, especially in this industry, you're only as good as your last transaction.
Ooh, yeah.
Isn't it true?
So true. So true.
You could have been stellar in one transaction. People's just like, oh, that one. It's so interesting. I love it.
That's how come you got to bring your A game, because like I don't sleep at night. Like when I make a commitment to someone, it's fucking getting done.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta be beast. Like it just is what it is.
I sleep like a baby, but but it's not just me, right? Here's the thing. Look, if I go on vacation, like, everything runs without me.
Amen.
So I think for my business, mainly what I do is business development. Right. You can see me as the face. I like doing a podcast with awesome people. I like connecting on a real level, and just getting to know people, because people will, I sponsor these events for attorneys, like one year was like Tahoe. It was like for CLA, real estate attorneys. It's called CLA, Confer Law Association. And they're awesome people, and we talk about things never about work, and I just recently had one of these attorneys give me 39 appraisals. Yeah.
You earned that.
Yeah. But it's like I'm never looking for 39 appraisals.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just like, yes, I have a business, but like, how are you? What's going on? Let's do this hike. Let's get this yoga thing because, and hey, let's golf. I like golfing. I'm into it now. I don't know if you golf, but we should get into it.
I love the golf attire. So we're going to get away from real estate.
All right, let's do it.
First, we're going to talk about the sock game. So we have a sock challenge going. I think I won today with the Oscar Mayer Wiener socks.
I didn't know there was a challenge. It's all good because I think that the challenge is always on.
Oh yeah.
The next time you see me or I see you, I'm gonna pick up those pants because I guarantee my socks are pretty much stellar at all times.
Oh, we're gonna go.
This is probably the most boring pair I have, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but Sidney knows how to. I mean, we're not competing on the rest of the outfit. Just the socks I went on. The rest of the outfit.
Come on, the sunset shirt is awesome. Killer.
Talk about like what is your passion? Like, how come you have such high standards for your business? Get away from the business. Let's talk about the personal stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what makes Sidney's day? You got kids, you got family. What brings you joy and happiness?
Playing. I love to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. So I think I'm just a big kid. You know, like my kids are into everything. They snowboard because I snowboard. They surf because I surf. They play instruments because I used to play instruments. I mean, I still have the guitar, but I grew up playing instruments. They just do all these things. I just think it's good to be a well-rounded person, right? Maybe it's my ADD, but it's like I'll go on an appraisal. I met this one guy, Albert. Right, Albert is the most smartest person for sure that I've ever met in my life.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the way I met him was Salafalo. Oh my God, I'm butchering his last name. Anyway, he's a big agent with Keller Williams. Sal out in the Mission. What's that market area?
Mission Viejo?
No,
Valley?
Right here in San Diego. Oh my gosh,
Mission Beach.
No,
I'm trying
Mission
to
Hills.
All the Mission.
Okay,
Mission Hills.
Sal with Keller Williams. I know you'll cut that out. Okay, Sal.
We're definitely cutting that out.
Sal C with Keller Williams, big agent. He had I was doing like a divorce appraisal for this guy. And it's in Mission Hills. And then he was telling me, yeah, Sid, like, dude, this guy, he works with Nat Geo and, don't tell him I told you this, just play it cool. But he found the remains of Genghis Khan. And I was like, now at the time on Netflix, I'm watching this show called Marco Polo.
A Genghis Khan. I've seen it.
So I'm in it. Right?
I'm a history buff. I love that. Okay. All right.
So I am in it thick. I am in it thick with this thing. And I'm like, okay. So I played it cool. So I meet this guy, Albert. I go in his house. We start chatting and I see the Nat Geo. And I go, oh, Nat Geo, that's cool, man. I go, like, you work with him? And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm an archaeologist. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, have you found anything cool lately? Like, right? He was like, yeah, actually, I just found the remains of Genghis Khan in Mongolia thing. And once you find it, he goes, there's like a real thing like Tomb Raiders. He's like, they'll come take this thing. It'll be some drug lord's house or something, right? So then the Mongolian government kicks them out like, thank you, we'll take care of it. They wrap everything up. And I don't know where it's at, maybe in a museum somewhere, I'm not sure. And so he was like, yeah. And Albert was missing half a leg, right? And I'm like, okay. And he's like, hey, but when I got into his home, he had different legs. And I was like, okay. But I saw surfboards, I saw this. And Albert goes, hey, man, like, do you rock climb? I go, no, I've never done it. He goes, yeah, you want to rock climb with me? And I was like,
he's missing half a leg?
Yeah. And I go, yeah. So he got me into rock climbing, right? And this was back in like 2016. He got me into rock climbing. And I go, look, dude, if you want to rock climb with me, with like 1.5 legs, I'm gonna rock climb. So he has a different leg for everything he does. He surfs. He puts on one leg because it's like the foot is flatter.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So he got me into like things like that. So when you say what is Sidney, like I enjoy learning about others. Yeah. I enjoy playing, just being kidful. Like I think it's a thing. And I love speaking. I love to speak. And I think I get that from like church. I think honestly that's where it comes from. So I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and we used to go to a French congregation, all right, or like a French church. If you don't know what that is, it was in LA, and we started speaking. They say giving talks when I was like 6 years old.
Wow! And
because I couldn't reach the podium, they put like a soapbox, and you step on that thing, and now you're talking. But this is also not just speaking in front of a congregation of 120, 130 people, but it's also in French. In enunciating and like my parents would work with like, no, you can't go up doing that. Like you have to, and so like
it's a passion language.
Well, yeah, it's a passion language, but you also have to enunciate. You have to know when to pause, when to be louder, when to bring people in. Like this started at like 6 years old. So I never knew what that would lead to. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I stopped when I was like 16, 17, like this is not for me. Nothing against religion, just not for me.
Yeah.
And so one time someone comes up to me, they go, "Hey, Sidney, God, you're a good speaker. Where'd that come from?" I was like, "Well, thanks." But then I started thinking, I go, "Oh, I think it started when I was 6 years old. Who knew that would lead to like these other things, you know?" So I feel like my life will get me to a place where I will be allowed and honored to speak in front of thousands. So I've done it one time at a real estate convention for NAREB in last April at their convention in Houston. So
Nice.
they paid me $1,000.
Congratulations.
Yeah, dude, I was so excited.
It wasn't even about the money.
It wasn't about the money because the money paid for my ticket, my plane ticket, my hotel, and food. Perfect. Because I would have done it for free.
Yeah.
So it was such an honor that they brought me out there. So that, I love doing things like that. I just love hanging out with friends, family. I love to grow with people, whether it's our businesses, whether it's our mindset. I think you find people, you're like, okay, like let's if we're gonna do it, let's do this.
These are my people. I get it. I said these are my people. I get it.
Those are my people. Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier when like doing this has been the most incredible part of this year because I've become so much more self-aware where my connections are much richer.
Okay. Go deeper with that. What do you mean by that? Like what brings you self-awareness?
What I mean is like I feel selfish sitting in this chair because I get to know people like you and really dive into what makes you Sidney. Mm-hmm. What makes you click? What drives you every day? How come you do right by people? And it's the fucking coolest thing.
Yeah. But you know what? I think the one fear I have is leaving something on the table.
What do you mean?
We all have our potentials, right? We all have our like, you know what? I want to do this. And then there's these fears and these voices and these people in your hair going, that's what? You want to make $1 million this year? Like,
right.
Okay. And that's their own fears that are projected onto you. And the only thing I do not want to do is leave something on the table, meaning I know I can achieve that and not doing it because of some made up thing in your head or what someone else is telling you. And so I continue to go for it because it's like, I'm not done yet. And I have these leaps and bounds. And this is why I meet with my team. Like, what's your 2024 goals? Like, I don't care what it is. Just what is it? Let's write it down. And when do you think you're going to get there? By month 3, by month 5, 8? Like, what's stopping you from getting from month 2, month 4, month 6? And I think it's important because they also know that I'm also like, I'm all in on you as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's not just me. It's just like, okay, well, here's my stuff. We're doing different things, but we're both doing things. We're both seeking separate things. We're both seeking, and if we can help each other. And what I also want to put on him is, hey, I'm going to give you a little more responsibility because what I'm going into is going to take a little bit more of my time, but we've set this up. We have a foundation, but now, I feel you're ready to do X, Y, Z. Like I had a business coach, I had quite a few, but one, Pam, she's out of Oregon. Pam was awesome. And she'd always, when I was first letting go, because, everyone thinks like they're so special, which I am. I am special. I am very gifted. But I also know like I can let go and let other people do things and they'll do it to their liking and better than I can, right? Like I'm very on the whole DISC, like personality test, DISK, I'm an I. So I'm like a Richard Branson. Yeah. Like I just like to have a good time. Like, I can go to get a client, no problem. To manage that client, oh, that's just fucking dreadful. Like I don't want to
just hit me in the face with a 2x4. It's not my personality. It is not. Yeah.
Right? So I hire to my weaknesses, right? Smart. So like Mark, super chill guy. He's not really trying to be out there the way I am. Yeah. But he's very like, he's got systems in place. I don't have to call. I don't micromanage anyone. I don't tell him, hey, there's a deadline. If he needs to stay up at 3 a.m. to get that deadline done, that's your time. He goes snowboarding. He goes, is it cool if I go? I go, is it cool if you go? Go have a great time. Whatever's going to reset you get the energy to give to your family, give to me, give to yourself, your community, whatever it is, go do that. We all have our things, right? Like mine might be golf, surfing. I got to get in the water. Anytime I know I'm acting, I go, I've been in the water in 3 days. Let's go get cold, right? So whatever it is, I'm just like, I'm not going to leave anything on the table. And sometimes I feel like I'm not even going to tell anyone what I'm doing You ever give someone a good book? You're like, it's like a self-help book, and they 2 days ago, it's not for me. Here you go. And what it is they're not ready to check in, right, to themselves. But it also is, how dare you think that you can just give someone something that you're ready for that they may not be. That's how I see it as well. It's like people ask for what they want. I go, oh, I'm reading this book, and my buddy Jarvis, he's got Morning Hero. He was like, oh, I just read this book. It's called The Miracle Morning.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's incredible. And that's all he said. Right? I go, fuck, Miracle Morning. What's so incredible that so I just went to go get it. And I go, oh, Jarvis, that book's incredible. He never gave it to me. He just spoke highly of it. And I go, oh, like the one that you told me.
Alex Hermosi.
I'm like, okay. Like Audible, I'll go on the way home. There's gonna be traffic. I'll just, maybe there won't be because it's like everyone's off. But, I'm like, okay,
don't manifest traffic, bro.
That's why I just
We're going to delete that scene. No one wants to manifest traffic in San Diego, bro.
Maybe. But it's I love podcasts. It's a great reflection. Like if I was someone listening to this, I love traffic. I go, oh, more time in the car.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll just chill. Now, if I had like a self-driving vehicle, even better. Right? I could just kind of put the hand on the wheel. It'll just pump the brakes and keep going for me. Then there's no stress. But
well, I have a surprise for you. We do live events, and since you talked about speaking, we're definitely going to have to talk about that because,
awesome, man.
Like public speaking, I had somebody on, and they're so articulate. They're just like they're petrified of public speaking. It's a legit.
That feels like.
It's so cool that you started at 6.
Yeah.
And how old are your kids?
10, 12, 7. Cairo 12, Sage's. Cairo's 12, Sage is 10, and Anika is 7.
Amazing. You have 3. I have 3 too.
Yeah, dude.
That's crazy. But you're in the thick of it. I'm almost out of it.
Bro, I am in the thick of it.
How thick? With 2 C's?
Bro, it's so fun. I love being a dad, and I'm all about it. Like they're in their club soccer. I feel like I'm more into them, like, because I feel like I wish I was there, but they're just awesome kids. Like I had, like my wife recently, Maritza, she's also an agent. She recently went to like a women's retreat in Tulum.
Really?
Yeah, it was incredible.
Can we go to a guys retreat in Tulum?
I'd love to.
Why don't we just set that up? Like,
I would
Maritza, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
Thank you for that idea.
We're going to.
I'm going to point to all the cameras. Thank you. Me and Sydney are planning the first annual.
I'm so glad she went. It was, it was good for her, which in essence is good for everyone, right? I remember like my son made a comment like, Mom, you look different. And I know what he was trying to articulate. Like, there's something different about you, So I think it was awesome. But
energy.
Yeah, it is. But within that, like I had parent teacher, they all had half days. While she was gone, they had half days the entire week.
Nice.
Parent teacher conference. I go, okay. With soccer and all that. I go, done. Right. I get the kids together, go, okay, guys, we're a team. Here's how we're going to tackle it. Here's the daily. All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, go. Are we all in it together? Like lock in? Cool. Like I'm not going to yell at you, I'm not doing that stuff. Right. And so, but what their teachers were saying is individually how awesome they were as students. Like, they really focus in, they stick up for other kids. They, even to their own friends. And I'm like, oh, I got good human beings, and that's what you want is like solid. Oh. I always tell them like, you guys got to have just good integrity. You have to be kind. You have to be empathetic to others. Don't let no one walk all over you. There's no doormats here. That's number one. But you have to be just solid, like solid people. You know what I mean? Like really good citizens to the global citizens. And so when I got them from the teachers, I go, I got good kids, man. I was like, done, so.
Don't you find it interesting good kids come from good parenting?
Yeah, because you don't always see it at home. But when they go to their friend's house, the parents are always like, so well, Matt, I'll take Sage anytime. The other one, I don't know. That boy can never come over. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's cool. Because sometimes, they bicker. That's what they're just going to do. But when they leave the house, you're like, okay, they're representing themselves. Cool. Yeah. You can do whatever you want at the house,
and no matter how hard like our professions are, like parenting, that's been the awakening I've had this year is like how hard being a parent is.
There's no book on it.
There's no
book. Or no good ones.
Even if there was a book on it, kids are so different.
You're so different. You can do it.
Do you know the biggest lesson I've learned? Because my kids are older.
What are your kids' ages?
17, 15, and 13.
Oh, yeah.
Love them to death. All three boys. I'm very honored
at this point.
And I'm trying to raise men, and my definition is like, I grew up, the way, and I don't know how much of this you can, like, if you have mental health issues as a guy, it's not something that was accepted. You don't talk about that. I can genuinely say, like, I had some shit to clean up this past 18 months, and I'm glad I did it. I'm such a better, like, just a good human being and setting the right example. So it's like, no matter where you are in life, you get to decide whether change happens today or it never happens.
I've seen a therapist from like 2016 to 2018.
Great. How was it?
That was probably one of the amazing. I was going through shit, as far as like personal and stuff like that, like life. But I wanted to do it for myself to like, why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? Why is this happening? Where is it coming from? Where does it derive? What are the tools that I can gather to allow me in the future to actually not compartmentalize it and throw it away, but to go, okay, the way through I guess the best thing is like, you got to go through it to get over it. Right. And so it was awesome. Right. And I learned so much about myself. It got to a point where I'd be like this, and we'll just be looking at each other, and she'd go, Sidney, I think you're good. Like, if something comes up, whatever, hit me up, and I go, cool. And that was like the last time that and I've thought about, maybe I should go check in, but I've done like Reiki and I've done other things, but it's like breathing is something that keeps coming up. Like, you need stillness and breathing, like, and that's something I'm really trying to maybe practice more often, and not just like, cause I surf or I'll golf, or I do a lot of active, what you call maybe active meditation, but I don't do a lot of like just stillness, like just like if I take a bath now, I don't even watch Netflix. I just listen to like meditation music to allow the mind to just be free. And oh my God, the thoughts that are coming in. Like I did a powwow the other day, straight up. I was in a bath and I just had these emotions of gratitude come through. So I woke my kids up, even though they weren't even sleeping anyway. I woke them up and I go, hey, and I told my wife, hey, come in the room. And I lit a candle in the middle. And I go, let's all hold hands. And I just go, let's take 3 breaths together, right? We took 3 breaths. And I just go, hey guys, because, kids, sometimes parents, I go, hey guys, look, we're all a team. I want all of us to look at each other. We're all a team, right? I know things happen, but I want you guys to take care of yourself individually, but also know that this is a tribe and this is always be a safe place for us. We can always count on each other. And I love you guys. And that's all I want to say. And I go, let's just take a deep breath. And my kids are probably like, what's going on with that? But it's just like, I think I just had this moment. I go, I should take advantage of it. I go, I'm going to go, and I think it's like doing cool things like that. I think was maybe selfishly good for me, but I also just want them to know, like, there's a lot of, energies can be crazy sometimes. I got a 12-year-old who's becoming a man, he's a young man and he's got his things. He's with his brother and, it's like, it's just, the conversation's different. So it's just to tap in and just go like, it's okay. Like when I know when my kids are acting up, I just give them a hug and I just hold on to them.
Yeah.
And then when they pull away, I give another one and I go, and you can just tell like they just melt and I go, oh, that's all you needed. But you don't know how to articulate it. Men don't always know how to do those kind of things as well. You know what I mean? Like it's just different.
The way I was looking at it, I'm like, dude, I got to raise men. And just because you got to raise men, this is what I learned about myself as a parent. I'm like, dude, like I gotta feed their individuality and help them understand you only become hard by doing hard things in life. Mm-hmm. So now it's about experiences, exposure, and us just having real conversations to sit down. And that's why I said, like, you asked me, how have you gotten better as a podcast host? Dude, like, I'm just self-aware for everyone now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious all the time.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's a good place to be. I'm always curious too.
I know.
He just got in my head. He goes, I know. But yeah, I am. I think it's a good place to be because I say this and I always kid about it, but I'm not. It's like the only thing I'm 100% sure is I don't know shit. Right. But what it allows me to do is to keep my cup empty. Because if you know everything, it's like, it's full. And look, I had a friend of mine, still a friend, but we went through a time we weren't friends because he was, he wanted to train with me and as an appraiser. And he had a willingness to learn, but did not have a willingness to be coached. And I think you need both in life, right? You have to have a willingness to learn and also be coached. And I tell even Mark, I've known Mark for 21, 22 years since I was 23 years since I was 20 years old. I'm 43 years old.
Can you believe that?
I
23 years?
23 years, right?
You're like, man, I'm too young for this, baby.
I'm just saying. I'm like,
I don't know what we're talking about. We're in our, well, he's in his early 30s. I'm pushing middle 40s.
There it is, right? But the thing was, I was like, I was talking to my wife's father, and this is when I was going through what should I fire this guy? Should I not? And he goes, Sidney, he goes, it's not that friends and family shouldn't work together. He goes, when friends and family or anyone come together in a professional setting, everyone must raise their level of professionalism, right? Going back to even your transaction, right? There has to be a certain level of professionalism. So when we're working, I'm not your friend where we can go have a beer. No, I'm your boss, right? We're a team, but I'm running a point. So if there's a play, we'll just talk about basketball analogy. If we're running a play and I expect you to be there and you're not, and I let that ball go early because I know you're supposed to be there and you're over there, then we're going to lose the game.
Yeah.
The same in my business is if you're supposed to do or be somewhere or do something and you're not, well, then you're going to put everything else in jeopardy. And I can't have that. I can't have one person putting the entire operation in jeopardy just because oh, dude, I've known you forever. I'm like, yeah. But I have to also respect you and respect the person that I've only known for 2 years or a year, and they're doing the task that I've told them that they're responsible for. So it's not like friends and family. Yeah, you could do it. So Mark and I, it's so funny because he said his wife Sheila was just saying yeah, I'll hear you because we'll get on the phone and we'll half it out sometimes, hey, and I go, you know what? Go have a beer. We'll talk tomorrow. But she goes, you guys always come back.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome that you guys have that relationship.
Well, there's expectations. We all have them. He has expectations of me and I have expectations of him. And when those are not met, a conversation needs to happen.
Amazing.
Now, if I'm in my feelings about it and I'm feeling oh, well, I'm going to do all this other stuff, doesn't matter. The expectation is this is supposed to happen, right? For both of us. So if it doesn't, hey, I might have hey man, what's up with this? Or maybe I'm bringing in my bad day because I'm dealing with the client and everything is my fault always. I never go, well, I think Mark messed. No, it's okay. I messed up. I'll take care of it. Now if this is the first time, okay. If it's the second or third, I'm like, dude, so, and if you feel a certain way, fine, but we're going to hash it out because we can't let this get into create a, a canyon between us and whatever. So I think that's maturity, on either part. I had to do some reading about personalities, how I motivate you is not how I motivate someone else. How I speak to you is not how I can speak to someone else because everyone has a different personality. So I have to understand, which works great for identifying the type of client I have. Are you a shark? Are you more caring? Are you more analytical? Or you're I just want the numbers. And I have to know that from the people I'm dealing with or people who are hiring me and I'm delivering a report to, and how I focus on, okay, Sidney, but what is the percentage gain? Oh, okay. Got it. I hear what you mean. Let's talk percentages and numbers. You understand that? Okay, yes. When you add this ADU, you can provide another housing for someone who may need. Yeah, there's some income involved, but imagine what you're doing, helping out family or a friend or a colleague. Everyone is different. Someone else I want to know how much this is going to be a flip for. How can I flip this property? Everyone is different, right? Yeah. So you have to be able to communicate to everyone differently and just as efficiently. And I think that's where the curiosity comes. I'm who is this person? Okay, when I can't figure someone out, okay, cool. Let's just hang out, perfect, and it'll eventually when people get comfortable enough, they come out and then you get to know someone really, right? I mean, that's where it happens. So. Yeah,
that's where the bond happens. And you were talking about sitting in silence. And I've been talking to the boys about this. And I say, guys, I'm like, guys, look at your phone timer. How long have you been on it? Oh, I'm like that. I'm not
Yeah,
joking
dude,
around.
you kidding me?
The thing is, I just don't want them to be controlled by their mobile devices, and it's crazy.
There's science behind it.
Oh, there's definitely like it is
I get
literally the dopamine feed that you go. Our dopamine feed is never off.
Yeah.
It's insane. I'm like, guys, like it's either your phone controls you or you control your phone.
Yep.
Someone's getting controlled.
Yeah.
You guys decide. But I don't want to lecture any longer because to me, they're growing up. They got if they're going to become men, I got to treat them like a man.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to me that you talked about silence because I'm like, as I was speaking to them, I'm like, am I silent? How often do I have silence? So now I'm incorporating silence where I'll go for a walk, no phone.
Oh, that's the beauty of it.
Bro.
Sometimes if I forget, I go, oh, how awesome. Right? Matter of fact, I was listening to Simon Sinek. You know
Yeah.
Simon? Okay.
Start with why.
So he was just, I don't know where he was. I think it was like maybe a YouTube short or something, but he was like, oh, how important are you? And how much do you value your friendship with someone when you go to dinner and your phone is in your hand like this, or you have it on the table, but you face down like, oh, I'm not looking at it, but it's between you and that person. Like, oh, hold on for a second. It's like, that's why I was conscious. Like, I'm going to put this thing away. Right. Because look, I get at 17, 15, 13. Oh gosh. I mean, that's got to be a tough time with all the phones and technology.
Yeah.
Everything. Even my own kids, I go, so I actually put an app on my phone from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I cannot be on IG, Facebook, or there's one other one.
What app did you get?
I think it was like Juno or something like that.
Juno? Okay, so it won't allow you on it.
Yeah,
Instagram.
and I really think your app, if you have an Apple phone, or maybe an Android, I don't know. Sorry, I don't want to.
If you have green bubbles, we already have a controversy here.
Yeah,
so don't.
I'll
like
buy
I'm
you one
okay.
for Christmas.
I don't want your green bubbles on my screen, but I'll accept it. It's okay.
But it should give you options to not allow you to use it. You could put, so I don't know, but I just did this app, but just so I can focus. Cause there's things during the day. I'm like, it's just so easy to go, oh, let me just, and next you know, it's 20 minutes. You're like, oh, and the brain will always do what's easiest. Right. So if you give it the easier thing to go, let's go cheat on this thing and kind of, okay, I'll do that. So yeah, that's right.
That's why I said you can only get hard by doing hard things. You don't get hard by doing easy shit.
Never. But and I also try to do the hard things first, right? The things I don't want to do. Oh, but it's so rewarding when you get it done.
Well, the cool thing is, like, we started working out. So at 7 a.m., I got a personal trainer for all of us. We're doing it as a family.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really, really excited about, like, just thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Life is about, there was a part that you said, and I was thinking about what you were talking about, and it's that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Mm-hmm. It was the moment that you had with your family. You said, we're a team.
Yeah.
And it just hit me. I'm like, dude, he understands a beautiful moment, which is tomorrow isn't guaranteed. I got to remind everyone that I love how much I love them today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And has a different meaning for me now. I'm like, it means everything.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, man.
You never know.
So, it's like, you never want to go to bed angry with your spouse, all those kind of things. I get the premise behind that. It's that, do you want that to be the last conversation, or the last thing that's said? Or so it's like, we're all wild animals. We're all wild beasts, right? First off. And so we're trying to, put our own anything on our kids, and this is like, they're their own people. I'm here to guide you, man. And I have this thing with even mine when it comes to electronics. It's like no electronics during the week, right? None of that stuff. Then my son starts to go, well, Dad, I think we should, I'd like to, maybe, because Mondays and Wednesdays they all have practice anyway, so there's no time.
Yeah,
time for like a little bit of homework, chilling, and they go off to practice for a couple hours. And then he's like, how about Tuesdays and Thursdays? Like, okay, well, we could try something like that, because Thursdays they get their half days and stuff. And it's just interesting because it's like yesterday he was up. He's like, oh, I got to do my homework. And it was like 9 o'clock. I go, what? I go, why did you earlier? Oh, I go, hold on. I go, you were doing homework and you were playing video games, but you had homework. Oh, it's just a little bit of this. I go, my man, you're not managing your time well. I go, life is about managing time. at your age, I go, if you can't manage now, you're in junior high. When you get to high school, it's going to be even wilder and bigger. Then if you could decide to go to university, even more so. Or if you decide to open your business or you start to work for someone or whatever it is, you still got to manage time, right? And so the fun stuff is great, but you got to get your work done, you know? So for that, we have to like, you know, Thursday, like there's nothing on Thursday, man. And he's like, oh, really? I'm like, well, yeah, like there's also consequences.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure they're like, oh, this guy with like, cause and effect. And, you know, I always put these things on them like cause and effect.
They're like, Dad, why are you not being cool?
Yeah.
Remember the hug?
Yeah,
Remember the hug, Dad?
But I don't let them get away with anything because it's also like checks and balances. Like life won't let you get away with it, you know? So, you know, like
if we're not going to teach them who is, I think that's the question that I keep asking myself. Like, you know, I have a responsibility to myself, to them, to the community, to other people. Like, that's where I think change happens is with parents.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Like,
I think so.
You know what I mean?
It does.
So Sidney, this is my favorite part. So besides Maritza and your family, who brightens up your day? Who makes your day better? Who do you want to thank and give a shout out to?
Oh man, gosh. Who brightens my day? I would say just like good friends. One of my best friends, Jamie Pullman, just a solid individual, so kind, you know, we just have great conversations. But, you know, I think what brightens my day is, you know, extended family, you know, parents are awesome. But it's really, I think, comes down to how I'm living my life feeds me knowing that I'm doing good things. Like I'm not here trying to be ratchet or, you know, like we all make mistakes, but just being authentic to myself, you know, lending my time, being present, you know, when I'm doing with my kids, I'm with them. When I'm in my sport or whatever craft or whatever I'm doing, I'm in that. And I think the accumulation of it all brings you joy, you know, because happiness, I feel is like an emotion, it can up and down, but joy is like from within, like, okay, I'm joyful. Like this is good, you know? So, yeah, I think that's what really does it for me.
You definitely should do public speaking. That was fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, joy is inside. I'm like, all right, I'm adopting that. I enjoyed having you on, man. Like, we're gonna put all of your links. Like, I appreciate who you are. I appreciate the positivity that you put out there. I just think you represent our industry in such a great way that helps people solve problems.
Yeah.
And get the answers that they need so they can make great decisions. And it's all about being a good person all the time. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. I know it's been a long time in the making. I appreciate you, you know, showcasing me, but I also feel like you're just as awesome.
I appreciate it.
And let's connect. Let's really continue to, I enjoy hiking, so let's get on that.
Oh, we're Rancho Ted.
Oh, yeah, he's into that.
We were talking about that. Oh,
man.
Do you know Rancho Ted walked 4,000 miles?
Where? Like the Pacific
He was
Trail?
what? No. Just in the COVID year, I heard this on this podcast. Okay, we're not done yet. This is he was walking 11 miles a day.
Wow.
He had 4,000 miles in a year. I'm like,
you know what? Here's what I find interesting too. Is like people always say I don't have time, and what was it during COVID? I was like, you cannot see. Like if you were like, I'm like, that's how I know it's not like people are full of it. I'm like, oh, I didn't have time. Like, what do you mean you didn't have time? Everybody was at home hanging out, like, you know. But except for real estate, I was busy.
Yeah, it was busy, and I think 2024 is gonna be pretty busy.
So it will, yeah. And I think if you're positioned right, if you have the right mindset, you know, right attitude, right display, and what you're leading in, I think it's going to be a mega year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to help a lot of people, and I think that's what it comes down to. I thoroughly enjoyed having you on. We're definitely going to have you back. Evolve your brand. And what an incredible brand. Thank you so much, Sidney.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.